Lens flares. Okay, yes. Lens flares. This is Kal Kat, the Kal Katster, and I just watched. Well, I'm a day late because we're doing it. Rendering Transformers episode over there in here, and yeah, it's a day late for the Star Trek thing. Well, here it is. It's Friday. It's the 2nd of October, and this is Thursday's episode, Crisis Point of Lower Decks. The Silly Trek episode, definitely a nod to Nemesis, Star Trek the Motion Picture, Star Trek 6, everything. Yeah, it's a Silly Trek story. Okay, well, first Silly Trek backstory is that, okay, they go on, let's do this story first. They go on the holodeck, the Boimler and Tendi and Mariner, and then go on the holodeck and relive a movie version of Mariner's story, which is literally Silly Trek. And they go on this story where they're like go on this adventure where there's an evil clone of Mariner, all the Star Trek. They do that a lot. It's not just Nemesis, but who wants to destroy them. She's got a Klingon bird of prey. So there's a little bit of Star Trek 3 in there too. Like, they managed to condense all the movies into 21 minutes. Well, at least movie plot points in 21 minutes. Definitely inspired by the, even more so by the Gamelt game, the Uncharted, as well as Silly Trek, as if they're like they knew each other. We didn't know Gamelt. We were just the only people that complained about him, like, making up stuff about a pitch he didn't do. Yeah, we were some of the first people that commented on that. But yeah, it wasn't about him. It was, and there's Tendi, who's the right. They address that. They make her an Orion pirate, and she's offended, and she leaves because it's only been 5 years since they were pirates. So yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah, so they had her dressed like the Green Girl from the other story, like she's basically Sandy from On Location. That's an Orion. But yeah, so yeah, so we have this plot going on. We have the holodeck thing going increasingly nuts. Very similar to the ending of the first Chimera series in 2005. Very much like that story. And that was one of the books, which was published 2 years ago online on Amazon. So they read it. They read all the Sillian saga, and they took the bits they wanted from it, including the destruction of the ship, which they show in the story. And they have lens flares everywhere, so they make it look like that. They're basically spoofing the Abrams universe, too. They're always blowing up the ship. There was a funny scene where there was an admiral, it was Kal Kat, who was said the ship showed up, it was a fake ship, and it was like in the thing. Yeah, so, yeah, and it's 2380, so it's during the 2005 Silly Trek. It's set during it. Yeah, so that would be 2005. That would be 15 years ago. So yeah, actually it'd be a little later than that even, because it's 2380 and now it's 2397 in the TNG period. We're in 2397, early 2397, in that. 23 years after TNG started, basically. So yeah, it's been 26 years since Voyager, 32 years since DS9 or something like that. Anyways, yeah, so 34 years since DS9. But yeah, I had a lot of cool in-jokes. I'm sure Trek Yards will do an hour-long thing. I think they already have, on all the little references and things in there. I think the cat has hairballs. Oh, there's a bird dude, right out of a Mark's Card story. Bird dude psychologist. Dr. Katz type of psychologist, also from something else that's familiar, and he talks in food metaphors. It's basically Mark's Cards as a bird. That's awesome. That's awesome. I like it. He's a parrot. All right. Also, sure. Of course, the Bionic guys, the Bionic 6 in the parody, which is Bionic 5, which is funny, reference to Bionic 6. Also, they went there with the slashy story because in the fantasy, Rutherford imagines that he's fallen in love with the chief engineer, who happens to be a dude, and they're okay with it. So there's like all kinds of bizarre stuff. Of course, in real life, he wouldn't do. Oh my! But it's like, but yeah, there's, well, it's kind of mean spirited because the daughter is fighting her evil clone at the end and dies. But spoiler. But it's all on a holodeck, so it's fine. But yeah, it's a day late, a dollar short. Yeah, and then it's just silly track. Crashing the ship was something we did in 2 or 3 episodes early on. In fact, in the first Silly Trek story, we crashed the ship and the saucer popped off and went rolling and stuff. And it was called Decimating the Saucer Section, the first comic book of Silly Trek ever. 1986. That scene, they put it in the movie. It's in this episode. It's awesome. It's right there. Decimated the Saucer Section. It's right there. There it is. Of course, we were inspired by Star Trek 3 at the time, but so were they. Anyway, and then all it needed was when the ship was crashing for the cut to Generations line and have one of them say, "Oh shit." But yes, so we have a Star Trek story that emulates at least the heart and mind of Sillian space starship locations. And it totally is, and it's also Uncharted, so there's this weird connection, even though originally we were critics of Uncharted. But yeah, so does Gamelt have anything to do with this episode? They pitched it? I don't know. I don't think so. I think it was Starship Locations where they got it from. So yeah, they read his story, and our story is his story being a parody of itself, analyzing itself, or analyzing that this story doesn't make sense, and freaking out over it not making sense. Boimler finds out that Mariner is the mother, the captain and the daughter, their mother and daughter. I thought they already knew that, though. I don't know, they played it like this is a horrible secret he learns. I thought that was already a given, though, from the pilot. I mean, it's really obvious. Also, those of you that don't know the Sillian saga, go read it on Amazon. It's hilarious. Not just saying that because I wrote it. And there's even new ones this year on there, because what else am I going to do in quarantine? Well, write new ones. There's no new ones yet after that one, but up to the virus. But 2396 on Discovery. They do a little bit of the 32nd century in one of them. So that was the latest one. So we've gone ahead and given you some hints about Star Trek Discovery Season 3 in our latest story. Go look it up. It's what's going to happen. Kind of what's going to happen. And it's not like we have an in or anything. It's just that they've been like reading our thoughts, spying on us. We're on the same wavelength. That's what it is. We're on the same wavelength. That's the reason we have Star Trek Chimera, a fan film, and nobody touches it from CBS. I wonder why. Anyway, that's because it's following the rules, really. It's not a big secret, not a conspiracy. And the only rule we broke was length. But anyway, but we wanted it to be epic, and it is epic. Go watch Starship Chimera on the Starship Chimera YouTube channel. So Mariner and Ransom and Mariner. Ransom is basically Libby Klina from Starship Locations, as if she was black. She's Libby, even though in the original story, the Libby, there's a connection there too, because she's Libby. She's the captain is Libby, but she's black. But in Silly Trek, she's a white girl with blonde hair. Well, by now she'd be 50, and she'd have a daughter who would be in Starfleet. if she had a daughter that was in Starfleet. And the daughter would be as messed up as she is. And the daughter would have a evil twin, because she did too. She had the Wessian and the evil twin, the Libyan. So yeah, so it's totally silly space. It's Starship Locations. We're seeing the Starship Locations as a story in 2380. 15 years ago, though, which is weird because it wouldn't be 15 years ago, but that's all right. I guess 16 years from now, she'll be a captain herself, and probably, in the present day. We haven't planned to put anybody from Lower Decks in Silly Trek yet or anything. Yeah, but it does take place 16 years ago, 15, 16 years ago, so... but yeah, and Picard takes place 2 years from now. Well, a year and a half from now. In 2399. Yeah. So, it works. The show was fine. It's like Silly Trek, but I can't knock a show that's like Silly Trek, right? They even went there with the Tandy Sandra character. The Borg guy. The Borg guy is Lonnie from Silly Trek. The Watkins character, Lonnie / guy, he's black. He's that guy from Silly Trek. Also, he's a little bit Tim Connor in the story. And I think that's because they thought they were the same guy. They just kind of leafed through it, and they were like, oh, he's probably the Lonnie guy, right? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and he's black like the Lonnie guy. No, Tim is a white dude with blonde hair. But that's all right. Now, there was a black guy, but that's fine. There was also a couple of black girls in there too. There was a Mariner ransom. But yeah, but sure, there wasn't a Mariner specifically, but there was somebody like that, Latanya. A minor character in the story. She wasn't the captain, but important to the original cast. She was briefly a girlfriend in the original On Location, didn't work out. Anyway, so that's all right. But yeah, and wasn't involved in the Sillian saga. She was left out because she didn't want to be in the Sillian saga. I didn't know what that was. But yeah, so, but there were a lot of people left out of the Sillian saga. There were 100 of them, and I can only include like 40 of them, half of them, a third of them, something like that. And I had to include the Star Trek people too, as Silly Trek people. So, yeah, we're one of the sources of Lower Decks. Yeah, they don't know it. They don't know it. They would never admit it. But yeah, we're not famous at all, which is how they can get away with it. Just say, I borrow from this guy's like online fanfic. No one will know except the guy that wrote the online fanfic. And the other guy, we'll give Gamil credit for the Orion girl and the Borg guy, because that's the two from his story. It wasn't mine, those are his, but she does act like Sandy from On Location. So On Location 2, another hyperactive character. Boimler acts like somebody from one of my other stories, Spacetime Eye, whose name is Boimler, from 2018, the release of that series. It's a 2-part book series, and he's the same character. But he also is a nod to, as I said before, he's a nod to Star Trek New Frontiers by Peter David. So in that, he's a nod to the character of Mackenzie Calhoun. They've said that. So yeah, that's what he is. But he's Mackenzie's nephew, I guess. And the next episode will be about an exocomp that they've given a hilarious Silly Trek name to. There's an exocomp in the finale. So anyway, so that's my review rundown thing. If you want to go on Trek Yards and see their long thing to go into detail. Oh yeah, the pre-credits thing was lizards and rats. That's Mark's cards. That scene it's Mark's cards. He wrote that. That was funny. The Temeralians and the rat people were meeting on the planet. They didn't draw them with vestigial arms, though. I don't think they had to have vestigial arms. primarily. So they based it more on the Starcracker version, which is understandable because they saw Starcrackers, the fan film. They clearly watched it because this was clearly that too. Boimler is, yeah, the captain and crew are like the Starcracker. You have the bald guy, you have the other guy. Of course, Mark's cards had to play the bald guy with hair. So it was reversed. I'm actually the guy that's losing his hair. So they reversed the roles because it would have been weird if I was the captain and the cameraman. But yes. Anyway, so a little bit of Starcrackers in there. And the counselor is also Kimchi from Starcrackers, talking about food. That's where that comes from. So the bird is Kimchi from Starcrackers. Like, wow, this is just all over the place. And the chief engineer is sort of a burly-looking white dude. That's Tim. But in this story, he's in lower decks. He's not he's completely straight. He's not into dude. So he wouldn't go for the guy with the eye thing. No, he wouldn't do that. He's married. He has kids. No, he doesn't. He wouldn't go there. He would not. But yeah, it's cool that the show had implications of the crew being Metro, though. That's neat. Mark's cards with that. They're Metro. So yeah. Yeah, didn't they already reveal that she's the daughter? That shouldn't be a mystery. Yeah. From like episode 2. Did they forget? So that is a continuity error. They forgot that. Yeah. Anyway, so whatever. It's a cartoon. Don't take it so seriously, Trek Car. It's just a cartoon. You're supposed to enjoy it. It's silly. It's silly Trek. The Starship locations. Your show is too long, and there's lens flares in it. It's like, no, give it a chance. Watch it. If you want something more subdued, actually, if you want something more. The humor is not literally that punchy and running around constantly frantic. Starship Chimera. Go watch that. It's got the same humor, but it's more subtle. There's not as much action. It's more dialogue. It's more the crew going on a space adventure with action figures. It's probably more your style, Trek. It's probably more your style. Watch that one. It's not nearly as frantic. You can tell what's going on. The plot forwards toward it. It's got Q and Picard in it. How could you not love it? And how they did put a cameo by Q in this one last time. But it was only a cameo. If you got Don Delancey on the set, you put him in the whole movie. Come on, guys. At least it's only 20 minutes. Put him in the make a Q episode. Come on. You lucked out on that one. You should have made that a Q episode. I'm Q. Well. Anyways.